All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Evergreen Marketing Era for Women Entrepreneurs. Now, if you're new here, I'm your host, Andrea Singletary, podcast strategist for established women in business who are ready to build an evergreen marketing system through podcasting that consistently attracts quality leads and ready to invest clients. Now, if you're a business owner with a podcast who feels like your podcast is just another thing on your never-ending to-do list because it isn't actually supporting your business, this episode is for you. Today, I'm sharing how to get leads from a podcast, specifically sharing 2 podcast strategies that I teach my Evergreen Marketing Accelerator clients to attract ready-to-invest clients from their podcasts. Now, these 2 strategies are 2 that I swear by that they work when you do them right, and it's what I use also with my own podcast strategy. So the 2 strategies are podcast SEO and creating podcast content for each stage of the customer journey. 9 times out of 10, when I audit someone's podcast, they're missing one of these or both of these. They're either not doing their keyword research before they outline or record their episodes, or they're not using the right type of keyword phrases for their podcast. So they're doing keyword research, but they aren't the keyword phrases that their ideal listener would be searching related to their content. Or they're creating this valuable content and a lot of it is landing with their listeners, but they're not creating strategic content for each stage of the customer journey. Because the reality is that you have to move your listeners along your funnel. And so if you're only creating content for one stage, you are having people stuck at that stage. Or like, for instance, if you're doing content just for like the middle of your funnel, you're missing out on attracting new people. You're just literally nurturing your current audience. You're also not moving them along so that you convert them into your offers. So let's get into both of these. We're going to start with podcast SEO. Now, the key to attracting people actively searching for your expertise and the solutions you have to offer is SEO. Basically, you want to make sure that you are ranking or showing up in searches. So whether that's the podcast listening apps or Google, for phrases or certain words that your people, your ideal client, is actively typing in to find, specific solutions. So for me, as a podcast strategist, and specifically for business owners, because I don't work with influencers or hobby podcasters. So I know that my people, they are searching for things like, how to get clients from your podcast, how to get leads from your podcast, how to actually make my podcast work for my business. And this is like things that multiple clients have shared with me. It's like, they don't know if their podcast is actually doing anything for their business, or how do I actually get my podcast to do something for my business? So I know that these are some keyword phrases that I want to be showing up for. Now, yes, I am going to use a keyword research tool to see what the search volume is on these keyword phrases, but also to see if there's something I can realistically rank for based on my domain authority. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is okay. These are the type of things that I teach you inside of the Evergreen Marketing Accelerator. Like, you are going to understand SEO by the time you leave out of the accelerator. But anyways, these are things that I need to know. But also doing keyword research also allows me to see what related keyword phrases people are searching to, like the main keyword phrase that I typed in, to see like what the search volume is for and everything like that. So it gives me more ideas of other keywords that maybe I can use as secondary keywords and try to rank for and everything like that. But this is something that you can't skip. Like, if you are a business owner with a podcast and you want to get leads and clients from your podcast, you have to do SEO. I don't care who you are. I don't care. I don't care if you already have a big audience. I really don't care. If you want to actually get results, get an ROI from your podcast, you have to prioritize SEO. And you have to optimize every aspect of your podcast. So, your podcast name, the description that you wrote. So like the general description of your podcast, your episode titles, your episode descriptions, your show notes. All of these key areas need to contain keywords in order for you to start showing up in searches, both in the podcast listening apps and on Google. And so you want to make it easy for the people who are actively looking for your content to actually find it. You want to make sure you're actually coming up in these searches. And SEO is how you do that. Now, just as a little side note, this has been one of the key ways I've been able to grow my podcast audience without posting about my latest episodes on social media. I do not believe in marketing your podcast on social media. Like, you don't need to do reels or post in stories about your latest episodes because honestly, those things don't work anyway. Because when you are posting on social media, trying to get those people off of, like, say, Instagram over to your podcast, the platform is going to penalize you because they don't want you driving traffic off of their platform. So you see it all the time. When you put links in your stories, those story views tank. When a lot of times too, the whole, click the link in my bio or different things like that, like you see your views tank, and you see this on Threads too. So I'm one who does not believe in leveraging social media marketing to promote my podcast. I've been able to grow my podcast. I'm almost at, I think like 25,000 downloads, which downloads aren't everything. Like that to me is not a key indicator of success. So more than that, I've consistently signed clients for my podcast. I literally just had someone, she messaged me on Voxer, and I know she got my Voxer from one of the episodes I shared, like, because I will say, like, in the show notes, like, if you have any questions, you can either DM me on Instagram or send me a message on Voxer. So she messaged me on Voxer inquiring about an old offer, and I was able to share with her that that offer is no longer available, but this is what I have that's similar to that offer. I was able to get that inquiry, and mind you, when she messaged me, I hadn't published any new episodes. It had been 3 months since I published any new episodes. So that was like with me out, like without actually putting forth any effort. She found my podcast, binged some of my episodes, and reached out to see how she could best work with me. That's the power of SEO, making it easy for the right people to find your content. And I honestly believe like prioritizing podcast SEO is way more effective than social media marketing for your podcast. It's way more effective than you posting clips of, from you recording one of your episodes and different things like that. Because one, you're ensuring that your content is getting in front of the people who are actively looking for your content. That's what SEO does for you. So to give you another example, one of my accelerator clients, she saw a 67% increase in her listenership 3 months after implementing podcast SEO. So I, went over and broke down for her like what podcast SEO is, and I explain it in a simplified manner. Like, I'm not here to confuse you, and SEO doesn't have to be this complicated thing. But I even like walk through it, like doing keyword research with her so she could kind of see like even like how my thought process is when you're doing keyword research and whatnot, and how to decide, okay, which keyword phrases should I go with? Like, which ones make the most sense for this specific topic, and yada, yada, yada. So she started doing keyword research for all of her episodes. And so by doing that, she not only saw that increase in her listenership because she was gaining more listeners, she also started having listeners reach out inquiring about working with her and starting to see consistent leads and conversions come directly from her podcast. But even more than that, which that is huge in and of itself, she also started seeing people going back and listening to her old episodes, like going and binging those old episodes. And that is the power of SEO. It makes sure that like that older content doesn't just die. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sure that people can go back and find that older content. Like, I still, to this day, I have people who go back to my episodes that I published my first year of podcasting. And now I am over 3 years into podcasting, which like I tell people, like those older episodes, that's not my best content, but they still get a lot out of it and they go on a binging spree. So that's what SEO does for you. It ensures that you're not just creating all this content and then people can't see it, or people don't go back to like the older content you created. No, they're going back. They're listening to those older episodes. And yeah, they're going to listen to your new episodes too, but it's like they go back and hear the old stuff. And, you have older episodes that are really good and you're like, dang, like more people need to hear this. Well, they are when you use SEO because you're ensuring that they're finding those pieces of content, those episodes. So that is like why, number one, you need to be prioritizing SEO. Like that is going to attract your, as Kay Hillman says, your MVB, so your most valuable buyer. But it's going to attract those people who they're ready to pay for a solution. They're ready to get help. They already know what their problem is. Now they're seeking out that support. And so those are the people who convert a lot quicker because they're ready to solve this problem right now. They're not looking to, they're not sure or confused. No, they know that they need help, but it's a matter of, are you the right person with the right solution for them? And your podcast content will help them to see like, oh, this is who I need to hire. This is the person that I need. She knows what she's talking about. I know she can help me. This is the very solution I've been looking for. So SEO ensures that those people who are ready to buy are the ones finding your content. Now let's talk about creating podcasts for each stage of the customer journey. The idea behind this and how I like to explain it is that when you create content for each stage of the customer journey, so you've heard about funnels and sales funnels and all of that. You have your top of funnel, that's your attraction stage. Middle, that's where people are evaluating what they actually want to do about their problem. And then the decision stage, where they're deciding whether or not they're going to move forward with your solution. As I've said in previous episodes, there are more stages that people like to break down. I like to keep it simple. I look at it in those 3 ways. But the idea behind this is meeting people where they are in the buyer cycle. Because the reality is that not everyone that comes to your podcast is going to be ready to invest. You're going to have some people who they know they have a problem, but they're not quite sure what they need to do about it. And they may not even be ready to necessarily do something about it because they don't see, the severity of their problem. They don't see that yet. And so that's why you're going to create certain type of content for them to see like, hey, this isn't a problem you can continue to sit on and ignore. Like you need to do something about this right now, especially like you're trying to achieve X, Y, and Z. Until you solve that problem, you're not going to get to X, Y, and Z. So you need to be creating content for people based on where they're at in the customer journey. So you're going to have people that already know they're ready to invest. They already know what their problem is and they're aware of the solution, but they just need the right solution. So you're going to create content for them that shows them how your offer is the very solution they need. Then you're going to have people who know they have a problem, but they aren't clear on what the actual problem is, or they have certain misconceptions about their problem. And so you have to create content for them that makes them problem aware and that starts to move them to becoming more solution aware. Then you're going to have people who know the solution they need, but they aren't sure if your solution is the right option for them. And so you have to create content that establishes your authority, builds trust, and shows them why you are the best person to support them. So you're going to have people in different phases, different stages of the customer journey. And so the idea is to create content that speaks to people where they're at, but then also leading them to other content that's going to help them keep moving along the customer journey and not staying stuck in that specific stage of the customer journey. Now, I can give more and more examples, but you get what I'm saying. Like, the reality is that you are going to have people at different stages. And the other thing is, too, is you're going to have different types of buyers in your audience. And so you want to make sure you're creating podcast content that speaks to each of them. So like, even with the buyer types, I like consider all of this in how I teach my accelerated clients to create content for each stage of the customer journey. But you're going to have those people who they're skeptical, or they're more emotional buyers, or, they're more analytical. Like, you're going to have people who buy differently. And so I show you inside of the accelerator, how to create different types of content that's going to give them the information they need to make that informed decision that your offer is right for them. So like, for instance, that more skeptical buyer, they're probably going to need more proof. They're going to need to see how this has worked for other people that you've worked with. And so, for instance, I recommend to my clients to do case study episodes where they're actually interviewing their clients. And so their listeners can hear from that client what results and transformations they achieve, where they started and where they got to after they worked with you, to really see themselves in that story. One of the things, like for instance, how I shared the data, how that one client, she saw a 67% increase in her listenership. That is for my data girlies, my analytical buyers who they need that data. They need to know. They need to hear that type of stuff. They need the numbers. So this is the type of things that I teach you inside of the accelerator, because these are the things that you are going to help you actually get leads and conversions from your podcast. This is like, if you can't tell, like, I am so passionate about this. But the reality is that, like, you have to create different types of podcast content that speaks to each of these people, because you're gonna have different people in your audience. That's just how it works. A big part of it, like I said, is you need to help move them along your funnel. And so this is kind of like a little bonus for you, but one of the best ways to do this is by guiding them to what episodes to listen to. So back in episode 282, I mentioned a couple of episodes to listen to that dive deeper into some of the topics that I discussed in that episode. I'm helping keep listeners on my content longer, and I'm creating more opportunities to build trust and demonstrate my expertise and why I'm the best podcast strategist for you. That is what you want. This is why, out of all my content, my podcast is where I actually have an entire database where I can go in and search old episodes to see when I spoke on specific topics. So that way, as I'm recording an episode, or more so as I'm outlining an episode, and I see like, oh, I actually spoke on this topic in another episode, and it actually dives deeper into this other aspect of it that I'm not necessarily covering in this episode. You know what? I'm going to mention that in this newer episode, so that way people can go back and listen. So they're getting another touch point. They're also going even deeper into this topic that they're already interested in. I'm building trust further. I'm demonstrating my authority and expertise even further. So this, I geek out over this stuff, you guys, but it's like you're literally keeping them on your content longer. And you're nurturing that relationship further because they're already listening to your podcast. They're already listening to it. And so you're telling them what to do next instead of them having to scroll through to see, okay, what episode do I want to listen to next? Hey, let me tell you what you should listen to next. Especially you just listened to this episode and you really liked it. You know what? Go listen to this other one because we're going to talk more about this topic that you already want to learn more about. Like, I'm sorry, like I'm just geeking out on this because it works so good. But okay, let's wrap this up. Okay, these two strategies will help you get consistent leads and clients from your podcast. It's not enough to publish valuable content. It's not enough. It's not enough when you're a business owner. You have to create strategic content and make sure that you are making it easy for the right people to find that content. And this is what I teach you inside of the Evergreen Marketing Accelerator. When you join, I work with you one-on-one to build out a custom podcast strategy for your business, your goals, and what your current capacity is. I really help you turn your podcast into a marketing and sales system for your business. You can learn more about the accelerator at mamaturnedmompreneur.com/accelerator. I have also linked this below in the episode description and in the show notes. But if this is what you want for 2026, like you really want to start consistently getting leads and clients from your podcasts, join me inside the accelerator. Like this is where I teach you to do that. I give you the strategies. I show you what you need to change so you can start seeing those leads come in. So you can start having people DM you saying, hey, I listened to your latest episode and I really need to work with you. Which offer is best for me? Or I'm really thinking about working with you inside of this offer. Do you think that's best for me? Having people book a sales call with you and then putting on, the little questionnaire they fill out before that they found you through your podcast. And then having them hop on that sales call and say, hey, I already know I want to work with you. I just want to make sure you are who you truly say you are. And I just had a couple more questions. Like that can be your reality in 2026. Join me inside the accelerator to make it happen. All right, I'll catch you in the next episode.